Bayern 3, Chelsea 1. Chelsea end their returning night, opening night of the Champions League in defeat. 3-1 at the Allianz it finishes to Bayern Munich. Harry Kane scoring a couple of goals, and of course the Trevor Chalobah own goal with a brilliant Cole Palmer individual finish, and another one that could have been given, of course, briefly and very narrowly offside right at the end of that game. It's a really frustrating evening, a different type of frustration to the one I felt post-Brentford. That was very different, but this is a case where I walk away from this game feeling that Chelsea were not outplayed. They were not shown to be so far, I think, well, this is maybe the argument you could make, right, in different ways. But it's not like Chelsea turned up, did nothing positive, and just looked miles and miles off the quality of Bayern Munich. Chelsea's frailties in this game were self-inflicted. All of the goals conceded were moments of Chelsea in possession, around and just outside their own box, doing stupid things with the ball. And at this level, you will be punished for that. And I think that's of great frustration. And I think it'll be a great frustration to Maresca, a great frustration to the players as well, that in the opening period of the game, tactically, you could see what Chelsea were trying to do. There were echoes of what we did against PSG so effectively. Of course, the nature of football, that first goal, if you don't get it and it goes in the opposite direction, the game can very quickly turn in a different direction. I also think as the game dragged on, there's a conversation to be had in that second half, especially after another good start, or at least promising start to the second half. There's a block of the game where it felt like maybe Maresca didn't act quickly enough with his substitutions. It felt like the game was quickly dragging and moving away from Chelsea. And we were not gaining as much territory. We weren't getting into the Bayern half. We weren't pressing them back. The changes that I think Company made, the one change he made at half-time tactically that I think made the big difference with Kim coming on for Jonathan Tah, I think definitely helped their defensive situation. And they as well, game state-wise, were sitting a bit deeper than they were in the first half. And that was kind of their ability to be able to to counter on Chelsea. However, I think the way the game kind of petered out was not great. This being the place where Chelsea came back and overcame so many obstacles. It was a Chelsea team that kind of accepted their fate by about 70 minutes, and I don't think that was a great look. And I think there will be question marks not only on the management of this game, but also personnel and maybe who deserves to start at the weekend. I think that's another conversation to have. This is my review of the game. Please give me your thoughts, extensive thoughts on the game down in the comments below. So the starting 11 I got spot on. I don't know how great that is given we lost 3-1, but it was bar Levi Colwill, the identical starting lineup that we saw against PSG. And in the opening period of the game, I thought Chelsea asserted themselves well. I think we were seeing the things that gave us hope that maybe tonight could be a memorable night, just like in the summer, right? Where we're like Chelsea, Malo Gusto, he's making runs behind Stanisic down that right. Sanchez is playing these long balls over the top. Chelsea look like there's a lot of space to exploit. Palmer's getting on the ball. Pedro looks really, really confident on the ball. Neto's getting down the left wing. There were things about that first period of the game that, gave you a feeling that there's opportunity here for Chelsea. There absolutely is. But as is the nature of football, right, if you don't get that first goal and how quickly things can change. Chelsea have benefited in recent weeks of not playing great, but in one moment turning the whole momentum and look of a game by scoring. And the shame of it is, all three goals are not, I think that the third goal by Kane is a wonderful finish, and it's kind of a classic Harry Kane finish. But, all of the goals are self-inflicted wounds, and I think that is the thing that I think is most irritating when you think about the things that Chelsea had in their control, and they kind of threw it away and really undermined what were positive signs early on. The first goal, Kimmich tries to play it out to the left quickly. The ref gets in the way. We restart. He goes out to the right, and Joao Pedro is effectively playing a left back role rather than Marco Correa. Isn't able to prevent Elise getting a low cross, really dangerous cross across 6-yard box. It's a terrible ball. It's kind of the worst ball you want across the 6-yard box. And we thought Upamecano had put it in, but it was actually Chalobah who'd, I think, because he sensed that Upamecano was there, he gets his leg to it. it goes in the worst possible place, rather than in other situations maybe that ball goes to Robert Sanchez, maybe it goes out. It's nightmare situation for Chalobah, who had one of his worst games tonight and just really found it difficult. And Chelsea defensively then, and I just think structurally after that moment, seemed to lose their heads a bit, and briefly after that, Motka Correa, who's been so reliable for Chelsea, loses the ball just around the box, and suddenly Moises Caicedo is panicking and Harry Kane's there. He's potentially got a shot one-on-one with Sanchez. And Harry Kane, being the very intelligent and experienced player he is, has won many penalties over the year, knows what he has to do with his body to get himself into a position where he can protect the ball, shield the ball, and mean that, Caicedo is going to make a foul and then the penalty is given. And in the blink of an eye, Chelsea are 2-0 down, and suddenly a game that felt like it could go in a really positive direction you're suddenly fearful Chelsea are going to get battered here and it's suddenly going to drag away. Literally a minute later, wasn't it? Palmer runs down the other end and does what Palmer does best, showing true talent and poise and just world-class ability with that finish. It did feel like Palmer, in a sense, was out there on his own at times. I think him and João Pedro played very well, I think, individually. Unfortunately, the team around them just really undermined that, to be honest. And I think that's the great frustration of Palmer, arriving in the Champions League, scoring a goal like that at the Allianz, but in the end it doesn't really count for much, and he has one late on that's cruelly ruled out. Very tight offside call right at the end, a brilliant pass by Andre Santos. But then you go into half time and you're sort of looking at it and going, tactically, Chelsea have made an error. They've conceded an own goal, but there still seems to be a sense of Chelsea getting in behind this Bayern defence. I think the frustration in that best period of the game, which was the first half, Neto, I thought his delivery was really poor, or just his decision-making when he got in and around the box wasn't good enough. Malo Gusto, I think, had made a couple of good runs at the back post that weren't being found, or just decision-making just simply wasn't good enough. And, at this level, defensively, when your decision-making isn't good enough, you're going to get punished. If in attack you don't have good decision making, the chance is going to go, and the chances at a ground like this are never going to be never ending, you feel like. And you did always feel like, with the talent and quality Bayern Munich have, there were going to be waves of attack, there were going to be waves of pressure that Chelsea were going to have to get through. And when you don't take the moment and you don't do the right things when you are on top, you are already susceptible to potentially losing the game. And half time, Kim comes on, Bayern defensively look a lot better. I think the criticism to Maresca will be there was a long block of the game where it felt like territory-wise, possession-wise, Bayern started to gain a lot of traction. In transition, Harry Kane had a shot that was well saved by Sanchez. Sanchez made an amazing save from Michael Olise from very close range that kept Chelsea in the game. And I thought, here we go. This is the incentive for Chelsea to now go and get a point from this game. But then very quickly after that, in the broadcast, I think they were showing a replay and we just saw it comes back and Harry Kane's literally curling the ball into the bottom corner. And again, Chelsea just tragic, in terms of just you simply unacceptable, cannot give the ball away in those areas. Naive, dumb, stupid errors. And it's those things that, if you're going to look and be really harsh, it's that naivety, it's that lack of experience at this level that I think really tells. Bayern were not their best tonight. They were not a team that looked miles and miles in terms of I think individual quality away from Chelsea, structurally, but they were a team that experience wise I think knew how to manage the game and absolutely capitalised ruthlessly. And I mean, maybe that in a sense is the evidence of the gap in quality that you can make there. A Chelsea ruthlessly taking those opportunities if it's presented to them. I think that's another question. Defensively, we were simply just not good enough tonight. Individually, not good enough. Collectively, Chelsea, I think the heads went down. And it just felt as well that, Maresca, could he have made subs more proactively? Could Andre Santos have come on earlier? Could Esteval have come on earlier? Garnacho. This is a midweek game. Players are maybe flagging. We need to freshen things up. Bayern have made alterations. We need to make alterations, and maybe just sitting on our hands a little bit and just waiting for things to happen. The momentum of the game had drastically shifted. The way Chelsea were able to get in behind Bayern's defence, those kind of moves where a lot of space seemed to be there, had very much shut down in the second half. So maybe we weren't proactive and Maresca wasn't proactive enough to change that. It's one game of 8 and you don't want to go, listen, anyone going overboard saying it's the end of the world, we're not going to do anything this season, and the squad's crap and all of that stuff that usually comes out. Chelsea, the fact that we even walked into this game with a feeling that Chelsea could do something positive, I think is a sign of the mentality kind of shift, or at least the confidence we have in this team compared to what it was 6-7 months ago. 6-7 months ago, I would have walked into this game with no hope that Chelsea would do anything. That doesn't mean the mistakes are acceptable. That doesn't mean losing is acceptable. But I think what it does mean is just a bit of perspective. This is one game of 8. Chelsea, I think, still have the capacity and quality to get through to the knockout stages, but it's the first defeat of the season. I think it's a tough lesson, and you hope those lessons are learned as we move forward. I think for me, as we always do at the end of these reviews, you start to look forward, right? Instantly, you look towards Old Trafford, a ground where Chelsea need to start winning games and need to bounce back after the disappointment at Brentford at the weekend and the disappointment tonight. And I feel for Chelsea and for Maresca, I'm looking at Andre Santos, I'm looking at Esteval, I'm looking at players who maybe do deserve a start, and to bring back into the team, bring that energy into the team, and for Chelsea to go to a ground and just reassert themselves and put in a really good performance. Because I don't think since the Club World Cup, listen, there were brilliant things in the West Ham game, that's undeniable, but West Ham are a bit shambolic, they really are. I think so far this season, Chelsea haven't really hit their stride. And I think Saturday would be a great chance to start to do that. And, get the curse off our back of never seeming to perform at Old Trafford. And, very much capitalise on the weaknesses of Manchester United and also quickly put this behind us. So, yeah, I think that it's a harsh lesson. It's a brutal lesson. It's a lesson that you could argue was always going to come for a young Chelsea team this year. But one they need to learn quickly from, because the Champions League is going to keep rolling, the Premier League's rolling as well, and Maresca needs to adapt and adjust, and Chelsea need to get back on the horse very quickly, because games are coming thick and fast. So that is my review, thoughts and feelings. We'll start to look towards the weekend and anything else between now and then. Please do like, subscribe, follow across the socials at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very, very soon. All the best.